and welcome to my studio, which is, as you can see, incredibly unmessy. No, it is very messy. First of all, I need to say what we're going to be looking at, and I was encouraged to show you just a few of the kinds of things I do with printmaking. So a lot of my ideas will start like this in the method that I'm demonstrating today, and then sometimes they'll go on to other mediums, other ways of making prints. But this kind of monoprinting that we're doing today is very, very simple and straightforward, but really has such rich possibilities in terms of making images. So I really hope you enjoy it. I'm going to put these away now, they're in the way, and then I'll talk about what kit you need. Okay, I ought to warn you that I have some bad habits, so I might burble a bit, I might sing to myself. I hope I don't, but I do that quite a lot in here. Right, what we need for today, what you need if you're doing this is some kind of shiny surface. Some people will just use a table that they can clean afterwards and return back to how it was, but a shiny surface of some kind. This is an old bit of perspex from making a sign, but it's just useful and it's been going for years and years. So if you can get a hold of something like that, that's ideal. And rollers. Now I've got a mixture of rollers here, and some of them are quite old and sort of rattly, you can hear, but they should work okay. Sometimes you'll get a roller that either makes a terrible noise, or you get one that is a bit jangly, or you get one that doesn't appear to pick up the ink properly. But if you persist with it, usually you can get it to do things that you want. I've got one swanky roller, which I might use, but that's just because that happens to be here. We'll see. So you need rollers, you need shiny surface. I'm just using the most ordinary paper that you can use, which is printing paper, any kind of printing or photocopy paper, A4. And the reason I'm using this is because it's nice and thin, which means that the ink transfers very easily. And because I use this method to make imagery, to sort of get imagery out, to me, it doesn't matter too much about the quality. If you really, really want to get a beautiful thin paper, there are Japanese papers, and you can use anything that's quite thin you can use. So you need that. You might need a drawing material or two. You need a way of altering the paper, so whether that's tearing it or cutting it, that's also very useful. And some ink. So I'm using a water-based printing ink made by, I think they're called Cranfield now, but there are all sorts of printing inks you can use. None of them are kind of wrong, and if they're oil-based, you clean them with white spirit, and if they're water-based, soap and water. So that's up to you, what you end up using there. And the crucial thing I'm going to show you is just how to prepare. And when I was going to be doing this for hospital rooms, thank you very much, by the way, hospital rooms and Seasalt, I was encouraged to go through the method quite carefully and slowly and not zip through it. So I'm going to try and concentrate on showing you how I would do it. And I need to warn you as well that I've never ever made a demonstration that's come out that well. So, you know, lower your expectations of what I'm about to do, please. So I've got a few colours on a thing I'm going to call the motherboard there. I've got a black because I think most people will have access to black ink somehow. It's the most kind of, I don't know, it's like a sort of base colour for everything, and it's strong and you know, it's great. So I'm going to be showing you working with black. I've also got a sort of yellow and a purpley colour, and I've mixed them to make a strange colour that I don't even know what that is yet. I've also got some white, which we might use. You know, most people wouldn't use white, but just to show you how that can transform something if we have time. So the first thing I'm going to show you, and please interrupt me, anybody, any of the kind of organisers and people doing it along with me, if you want me to slow down or show something again. Anyway, so, I'm trying not to get in the way. I'm picking up some ink here, and then I'm going to roll it out. And I'm going to roll it out really, really thin. As thin as I can. And I'm picking up the roller and spinning it each time. Flipping the roller as well, because on this roller it's not printing completely brilliantly. I'm having to lean quite hard to kind of get it to behave itself. It's a good way of getting rid of any kind of tension you might have leaning into a roller. There, so that's a kind of evenish panel of ink there. And you notice that I've got it quite a long way away from the blob of ink. If you have the blob of ink very close, they can end up being a kind of joining up slick. So try and keep those separate if you can. And then I'm going to put my roller back down over here and step back because I keep leaning over my thing. So the next thing you need is a piece of paper. And when you put the paper over the ink, if you've got the level thin enough of the ink, then when you put the paper down, it should sort of move slightly over. It shouldn't stick. It's sticking a little bit, I can feel it. So what I might do is I might take off one layer of ink just by rubbing, just to make sure I've got it really thin. So I'm not taking a print, I'm just making the ink thinner. And that is literally taking off one layer of ink. It's not for looking at, it's just for throwing away that one. And then when I come back with a second sheet of paper, when I've taken that off, it should be really nice and flat and thin now. And now it's ready for me to draw with. And it depends what kind of artist you are or what kind of person you are, how much time you want to spend doing this. So you can draw fast or slow with a thin or a thick tool. And I'm just going to give you some examples before we get any more sophisticated than this. So with this thin layer of ink and this piece of paper, I'm going to use a pencil first to just show you the lines that you'll get with a pencil. So if you can imagine, you could do very, very close lines with a pencil, or you could go quite scribbly. Now I know that's quite far away from the camera, but I'm just going to show you. I don't know whether you can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah, it comes up really clear when we see the print side. So it's good to have
Great.
that.
Great. So you can see that when you've got the ink thin, there's enough contrast so that when you've got that nice crisp line, it does really show up. And now I'm going to show you with a thicker tool. So I've got an, oh dear, look, first disaster. I just dropped my pencil right in the ink. Fantastic. No, that is exactly the kind of thing that needs to happen. I'm going to use my finger. Here's my finger. That is available and it hasn't landed in the ink. So hilarious. So here we go. I'm going to just do a kind of curly whirly here with my finger, and you'll see. Can you see? Wow. It's soft, but it's a completely different kind of line. So even if you just had some black ink, you rolled it out very thinly, and you drew with a fine line, and you drew with your finger, you've still got quite a lot of possibilities in terms of tone and just interest. And then if you did something like putting a drawing behind this, so if I take that off now and put another piece of paper on, I'm not re-inking yet because I feel like there's enough ink there. And I can put any drawing on. Let me see if I can. Drawing. So drawing of a head here. And I'm just going to, so you can, you can have a drawing, you can have something out of a magazine, you can have anything. And you just, oops, I'm probably leaning over it too much. I'm just going to do the top part of the face, which we all know is all we can see of each other at the moment. But I'm just going to do this. So I'm conscious that I don't want to take too long demonstrating each thing, but I've just drawn through the back of a piece of paper, and you can see that that has transferred completely onto there. Can you see that? Is that okay? I'm just going to make the eyes a little bit darker. And so you can see that it can be completely abstract kind of imagery, or you can go in with much more figurative imagery. It's completely, nothing is better than anything else. It's just, and I don't think there is a wrong here. I think it's just much more difficult to make a drawing or pick up an image if the ink is too thick. But hopefully I'll have time to show you what to do if your ink is too thick, because there are lots of things you can do. So I've put that to one side. I'm going to now show you, I'm going to just roll that again before we go off this one. So I'm just charging it up again. I haven't got any new ink on it. I've just got the ink that was on the roller. And I'm going to do what I did before and just print off a bit of excess ink. And then I'm going to show you about making a frame and why you might want to do that. So that's literally just printing off. And then I've made some frames here, and I'm going to show you the best, easiest way to do that. If you have some 2 sheets of paper, if you've got 2 colours or 2 bits of ink, which you might have if you have black and another colour, or 2 different colours, if you get those 2 sheets and fold them over exactly, because I'm nervous, and it turns out I've cut myself as well. Anyway, because I'm nervous, I'm probably not doing this as well as I normally would. So once you've folded it over, whatever you do in this area is going to make a double frame. So if you cut it, I am bleeding on things. Anyway, if you cut it, I'll do half cut and then half tearing. If you tear it, you'll get a frame with a sort of rough edge like that. So you can see, I'll move these. So you can see you've got 2 frames, slightly potato shaped as it turns out. 2 potato shaped frames. And I'm going to put a T at the front of both of them, so I know that when I move them around, they're in the same place. And just to show you how nice that is to use, I need to put some tape on this cut. I'm going to put the frame over the ink. And then I'm going to put the paper on top. I hope I'm going at an okay speed with this.
Seems okay.
And you might think, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
and you might think, why do you need a frame? And it just makes it, you put the paper that you're putting over the top exactly over that bit of paper, and it keeps it nice. It keeps everything sort of exactly where you want it, so that if you move to another colour, you know it's going to be in the same place. And then that same thing that we were doing before, so that if you wanted lines, it's the same thing, but they only go in this area. I'll do some fingery things as well, so you can see that it's the same thing as we were before. And in order to sort of accentuate the lovely potatoiness of this frame, I'm just going to rub round. I can see, maybe you can from above, I can see the shape of the frame underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just rubbing around the edge of it to, I don't know what the word is, delineate? Anyway, to describe the edge of the image. And it means that it comes out very neat. And it is slightly potatoey. It's funny because I'm not hungry and I do love eating, but yeah, that is quite potatoey. So I made some frames.
Saying, oh, sorry. We've had a comment saying that this is going great. Please let you know.
Good. Thank you. That's very sweet. I like that. Good. Never mind the potatoiness of it. Maybe that's the bonus feature. So those are my frames. I'm going to put these over here, slightly out of frame, so that I can reach for them if I need them. I think it's time to introduce another colour. So I'm going to go for the yellowy green that I dropped the crayon in. And I'm going to just use a palette knife to move it onto here. I'm just going to put it at the top here, like that. And then gather the ink from this little ink well, and then come down here, away from the ink. Ooh, it's a kind of Dijon mustard.
Go with a potato.
Yes, everything's going to be food themed, which was not the way I thought it was going to go.
Good, it kind of brings us full circle to Lucy Stein's potato printing last week.
Well, I can only follow in her footsteps, so that's perfect. So I'm trying to get this as even as possible. And I think I'll show you some other things now. So we've done some drawing and some using our fingers and things like that. And I'm going to now do some wiping away and some masking. So sometimes it's quite good. You can do the drawing thing, but sometimes it's nice to keep something clean, and to have white in an image or the paper color in an image gives you lots of possibilities because it keeps the tone up. And sometimes with monoprinting, when people do it, it can all look a bit muddy and all a bit samey. So it's really good to sort of make some areas really clean, whether you do it by hand or whether you do it with a cutout shape. And I'll show you what I mean. She says, looking around for things. Right. I'm going to use just strips of paper, willy-nilly. So I'm going to just use, that sort of crisscross shape is starting to, let's do a couple of strong diagonals. Oh, let me do, before I do that, because that's going to be the last thing, sorry, I'm going to just clean out an area first with a rag. I think I'll just, so when you lift the ink like this, it's quite a nice thing to do. Let's just do that. And you can see that I've wiped it away almost right through to the colour of the thing I'm rolling out on. And then I'm going to put these shapes on wherever we think they should go. And then I'm going to put on a frame that I made, which I used the method that we saw earlier. And I've put a T at the top so that I know where it is. And this time, instead of drawing through the back, because the ink is a little bit thicker, I'm going to rub the whole print to try and get an impression of what I've got there. So I hope that makes sense. I'm lining it up with the paper underneath. And then I'm just going to rub. I'm going to try not to get in the way by crouching. When you're printing like this and you want to see how it's going, and you can sort of see through the back, but the easiest way is to anchor it with your fingers and just lift one side and you can start to see what's happening.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sort of going section by section here, and because I can sort of see where those sections are. And then let's do this bit where I wiped it away. So you can see that if you took time and made lots of paper shapes by cutting things out or by tearing shapes or anything like that, you could make quite an intricate design by cutting and then lay that on the ink and then print it, and it would be sort of like magic, really. But even if you're being a bit more haphazard, you can see this is a great way of showing you and reminding you that everything comes out back to front with printmaking. And it's one of the great delights of printmaking, because you never quite know what you're going to get because it's back to front, which means that if you're ever using text, if you're ever writing anything, or ever making an image that involves a famous landmark or, you know, famous cliffs or something like that, like people would maybe do in Cornwall, you always have to reverse the image unless you want a completely fresh approach to that view. So there we are. Even though actually, this happens quite a lot, where I've taken the ink off actually looks sort of nicer than this, which is a bit sort of browny, but I'm going to save it because I can always print another colour over it. And that's something I do a lot, is print back over work. It's like a lovely way of just recycling your work, and it makes it more interesting each time. I'm going to try one thing with this. It's hardly got any ink on it at all. But I just think it might be quite interesting to draw on. So I'm going to put another sheet of paper over it. And I'm just going to draw. Well, we know that the 2 strips of paper are going to stop the ink printing there. Just have a look. Oh, that's going. Yeah, it's just, so everything you do, whether it's a thick line or a thin line, again, will print. If the ink is thin, that's the time to get your drawing tools out. And you get a much more sensitive kind of picture of what you've got in front of you. So it's much softer.
Mm.
So the thing is, once you've rolled your ink out, you know, just keep using it until it's kind of, I think that's a bit nicer in a way, because it's sort of got a bit more, you can play with it more. Actually, you've gone out, I know, it is in shot, isn't it?
Yeah, they are just in shot.
Yeah. So now that we've done that, I think we'll do a bit of combining colours, because I think that is fun. Are we ready to take that leap? I hope so.
I think that'd be good. It might be nice also to check in and see how Murphy's getting on and see what she's produced.
Murphy, I'm very eager to see what's going on.
Yeah, so I also ended up with a sort of potato shape, so I've just been...
Yay!
Nice.
What I'm finding really nice is actually, like, what I love about printing is the surprise of not knowing what's going to happen, but what I also really love is the sort of... So I've been using a pencil to draw on the back, but also ending up with these sort of random drawings themselves, thinking more about the texture than the drawing themselves.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that if you like that thing about drawing and you're not worrying about the quality of the drawing is serving another purpose.
Yeah.
Because it's giving you a print. So you're not even thinking about it. And then when you see it, it's got this lovely kind of freshness.
Yeah, and you end up with something that you would not have drawn originally.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I mean about it getting imagery out, because sometimes you don't realise what it's liberating somehow, because you're thinking of one thing and another thing is able to happen while you're concentrating on that. It's just one of the great bonuses of printmaking, I think.
Yeah, we've had someone say that they're so absorbed in watching it that they're going to say printing for themselves for a bit later.
Okay. That's nice. I mean, the thing is that printing, sometimes when you're younger and you learn printing, it can end up being quite a mess. Sometimes the materials you're given are a bit substandard, and that was certainly the case at my state school. But sometimes you get given things that are not great, or it's not really explained that well, and so you end up in a bit of a pickle or a bit of a mess. And all it needs is just a couple of things so you know where you are, so that if you have got lots of thick ink, you know what to do with it. If you've got thin ink, you know what to do with it. And then you're kind of away. And you just put a bit of time aside to make sure you can, and a bit of space. It just needs like a kitchen table, really. Or any table. Right, let's, I have to keep remembering that there are people in the room. You are in the room. I mustn't get kind of sidetracked myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a yellow, and then a white. And then we'll see what happens. And I've got some images that I've cut out, some things that I've prepared, so I might do those as well. And I also thought I'd show you printing on fabric. I might do that right now while it's occurring to me. This is a horrible bit of old sheet, my sheet, that I'm using as a rag. And I just wondered, because I've done some printing on fabric in the past, on linen and things like that, and then taken them through presses. And it's a long time since I've tried just drawing straight through onto fabric or onto a rag. So I thought I would just try that. Are those the bits I got out? Who knows? So just on the black here. So here it goes. I'm a stranger to the iron, as you can see. Always. I think I'll use a biro. And, okay. So let's have a play. So I think probably have to just be, oh, it'd be nice to be able to see what I was doing, but I can't. So I'm just going to draw without seeing what I'm doing, which is a bit, hopefully if you choose a more sensible tool, you'll be able to see what you're doing. Oh, it's very, very, very faint. So maybe I need to be a bit stronger and find a strong tool. Okay. I'm going to be a bit more forcey now. So I'm just drawing a kind of leaf shape.
We've had another comment to say that the clarity and explanation is fantastic. So thank you very much.
Oh, good. Good, because in the middle of the night, or sort of not in my dreams, more in my kind of middle of the night. Yeah, it was much more chaotic than this. So there are sort of little, these very, very sensitive black lines, which you may not be able to see so well there, but it is actually a very nice kind of quality of line. And I think, again, with a bit of preparation and maybe an iron being used before you draw, there's something rather lovely about that. And I know that some of you might be thinking, so if you can print onto fabric, can you print onto clothes? Would that stay put when you wash it? I don't know the answer to that, but somebody out there will. So let's hope we can find out. So anyway, that's drawing on fabric. Right, I'm going to just give that a wipe and then...
Somebody's asked, does the paper need to be slightly damp?
No, and that's another great bonus of this way of printmaking. With prints that go through the press, quite often you need to damp the paper, and that's for a particular reason. That's to soften up the paper so that under pressure it can press the paper, you know, the ink and the paper can really, really bond, and the paper can go into the crevices and pick up ink. But when it's just flat like this, the paper isn't being required to do any stretching or having to sort of go anywhere. It's literally just picking up a surface. So this kind of printmaking is called relief printmaking, and it's because it's just the top surface that you're taking off. So I feel like that's another great thing, because having to soak paper puts it sort of further and further away from being an ordinary activity that you can just do anywhere. So the fact that you can just start anytime is just great, I think. Right, I'm going to use this yellow. Rather naughtily not cleaning my... Maybe it's good for you to see how bad I am sometimes.
Well, somebody said that they love the fabric one and are actually watching whilst ironing.
If they need any more ironing, you know, I've got plenty. Anytime. I actually can't iron. It's not just that I kind of, if anybody wanted a free laugh, then just put an iron in my hand and ask me to iron a shirt. I just wouldn't be able to do it. Now, a thing I want to say about colour, apart from the fact that it's great and you can use any colours you want, is that if you use a colour that's at the sort of higher end of the tonal range, so in other words, something like a yellow, although you can do a line drawing in yellow on white paper, it's clearly not going to show up as well as doing a darker line drawing. Does that make sense? I think it does. So that is, it's a good thing to use those kind of colours for areas of sort of exciting, colour areas, and let the line be the area that you do in black. Just keep an eye on the time there. Okay. Right, what am I going to do? I think I cut out a, let's see if I can work this out. My brain is really slow sometimes, which won't surprise anyone who knows me. Let's just see what happens here. Let's do it like this. Right, I cut out this figure. Can you see when I put it on the black, you can see there's a strange sort of running figure and a tree.
So is that or something, maybe?
It's just out of a magazine, because I just thought I want to make it so that it's very easy for people to find any kind of imagery.
Yeah.
And so you can see I've cut the person out, and I've left the frame. But you can have completely random shapes with completely random frames. It's quite nice to do that. But I'm going to print this, and then I'm going to try and mask it out so that. Do I want it that way around? Anyway. Deary me. Right. I'm going to put this frame on here. And I'll put this frame, a frame that was made at the same time, on here. And then that should, on this one, as you can see, I should get the shape of the strange shape of the figure in the tree and this black area here. And then we'll see what happens when I go across to here. I'll do it with and without putting the extra mask on. So first of all, I'm going to put this piece of paper directly over the other piece of paper. That's the only bit, I think, that requires any care, and you just don't have to do that stage at all. You can just print. It's just an extra thing. So this is the black ink, and it's quite thinly rolled, but I'm not going to draw, I'm going to rub, because I just want the shape of the figure. And the tree. I don't know how well the tree is going to print, because it's got quite small bits of cutting out, so it might not work as well. But again, there's no point in showing you just me doing everything brilliantly. It's I don't think that's what this is about. I think it's just saying this is what can happen when you play with ink. Right, I'm going to have a peek. Remember that thing where you hold one side of it and then just have a look? Oh, it's actually quite grey. Okay, so the tree is a bit strange, but it's okay.
I love the texture of that.
Yeah, I think that,
Really
that
nice.
it always kind of lends itself to, it's never sort of flat and boring, the texture of a printed area. So you can see that that is quite strange. It's like a sort of grey figure running to one side to some other area away from a very peculiar little tree. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the whole of this on this yellow area without masking anything. I'm just going to print straight over it and see what happens. It might disappear. Another very exciting thing, I keep saying everything's exciting, but is that you can lose it in one fell swoop. But that's one of the thrilling things I think about printmaking, that you can, that it's low risk because you're going to lose a small piece of paper, but it's got this sort of little risky element built in, that you just really don't know what you're going to.
We've got somebody in the comments making a card for their grandma.
Yay!
That's so sweet.
Yeah, that's great.
And somebody else said that the thinking aloud is really helpful.
Oh, good. I'm going to have a peek, see how it's printing. Okay.
Wow.
So can you see that that figure is now sort of running the other way? And that the grey has become a kind of a greeny colour, and it's just become a sort of rich thing. You know, it's a bit like a painting. It's suddenly starting to transform because of going from ink to ink. Are you going to have a go at that, Murphy?
Are you up, Murphy?
She's engrossed.
I'm just at the moment I'm copying. I went drawing the other morning, and so I'm copying a house drawing that I did then, and then I'm going to go over to the other colour and see how they merge together.
Great. Yeah, we'll catch up with you in a minute.
Yeah, lovely. So that's the beginning of it starting to get richer. And I don't know how much time we've got, probably not loads. Maybe, I don't know whether to skip the white or do the white. I don't know what to do.
We've got about 20 minutes, I think.
Okay. Okay, so I'll press on. And I might do a kind of reverse of what I've just done. So you can see, whoops. Right, I'm going to do thick ink this time, thick black ink instead of thin. So you have the choice when you're rolling out your ink, skinny or sumptuous. It's completely up to you. And you'll see the difference just getting a bit more of a layer on here. I'm doing this really oddly, so I keep being aware that I'm leaning in, so I'm doing strange angles. Okay. So that's not super thick, but thicker. And then that's popped over there. This is now very, very thin instead. Yeah, let's try that. So this time I'm going to mask out the figure and the little tree. Ooh, straighter. Okay. Ooh. It's funny, you wouldn't think I minded, but there you go. And now I'm just going to, again, rub all over. See what happens. Popping that exactly over there, and then going in. Can I have a peek? I think I'm going to have to do more around the tree. Yeah, the tree is actually, I quite like the softness of it. So I'm going to leave the tree soft and just make sure that the figure has a bit of definition. And I'm going to make sure the edge of the frame is picked out.
Somebody has asked if you need to let the first layer dry at all before starting with another one.
So that will make things easier for you if you do that, because it means that the inks won't mingle, but I quite like the mingling. So what I'm about to do now is put this print, this black print, which you know has got quite a lot of ink on it, onto this yellow area, which will pick up just the ghost of the end of the yellow, and which will definitely pollute this area, but I don't mind. So I'll show you what happens. So again, I'm meeting it. Oops, it's kind of decided to, okay, it didn't quite meet. It's going to be slightly off. And I'm going to rub, concentrating on the yellow bits that I can sort of see, and I think you can from above. You can sort of see where you need to concentrate through the back of the paper. Sorry, my finger that's decided to. Okay, rub that a little bit more. Okay, so it's sort of the opposite of this one, in that it's a much cleaner. Well, it's different, isn't it? I think I prefer the yellowy green one. I think it's more mysterious. But with this one now, I would do other things. I might go back onto the black and do some drawing within the figure, just to kind of, I don't know, even if it was just little lines across. Obviously, when you're not doing a live presentation for a lot of people, you can just spend time doing the kind of drawing that you want to do. Oh, I actually masked that out, didn't I? Didn't need to do that. I meant to do this. I've made a stripy person underneath. See, there you are, classic mistake.
Oh, so the mask was still there. Yeah, I see.
The mask was still there in a very, you know, silly way. Unintentional mistakes, definitely part of the thing for me. So there we are. We've got a kind of strange, it's like it's chasing itself now. It's a strange ghost of the first image over the second one. So that's the sort of thing that when that happens, those kind of accidents happen, they can actually lead somewhere more interesting than the thing that turns out exactly as you wanted it to. And it sort of makes it more fun. So put those away.
Can we see that one a bit closer to the camera, Naomi? With the
what, the one with the which camera, front or above?
Above.
Above. So
yeah, on the left, yeah, where you can see we couldn't quite see that from afar.
Yeah, sorry, no, it's.
No, that's okay.
Yeah. What's quite funny is I'm quite shy and showing you things that I'm not necessarily. Anyway, it's, you know, I'm getting used to it. So now I think we'll just take those frames off. So other printmakers, quite a lot of other printmakers are quite neat people, and I'm here to tell you that not all printmakers are neat. I am not neat, and I find that I get into a complete. I love it though. I love being covered in ink. It's like one of my happiest things I could possibly be. So I'm just going to roll out some white. And you might think it's sort of pointless printing white over white paper, but it's kind of interesting. And I think if you can ever get hold of white paint or ink or anything, it behaves differently to other colours. So it's just a really interesting thing. I actually can't see it even. It's so similar to the background. So again, I wouldn't use this colour for making a sensitive line drawing, although if you could find some very thin black paper or grey paper and you did the ink very thinly, that might be absolutely gorgeous. But, yeah, there's always a way interesting or to work with what you've got, I think.
With that idea, somebody's asked how you could use this technique to make cards.
So I would use it, I would work on this thin paper and then I would simply attach them. So I would, you know, cut them out nicely and actually put them on the front of the card. I think that would be a nice way of doing it, because then you're going to have the sensitivity of the thin paper helping you while you do it. I think you could experiment with certain cards. There probably are cards that are thin enough that if you drew through, but then you'd have your drawing on the back. You could do the printing, the thick ink, when you wipe the ink away and when you put a mask on, that would work on card, because that's just to do with pressure. And you just have to make sure you're rubbing carefully enough and strongly enough, and then have a look. I'll do a few experiments and then you'll hit your critical kind of, you know, you'll hit your best thing and you'll be printing nicely. Right, I'm just going to take a print off here. Just going to do that thing that I did with the white ink of just evening it up by doing that. It's actually very sticky because that's what white ink is like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually mask out an area completely with a mask that I made. Just a sort of, I don't know what kind of shape that is. Maybe quite a happy shape. And then put a frame over it. I'm sure the ink goes all the way to the edge. And I think I will print this and then print it onto the black. So I'm really, really mixing up my colours now. I'm also printing white first, which people don't do because It's quite nice to have white over something rather than under it, but I don't know. Maybe maybe doing this has made me reverse all my normal habits. So there is an invisible print. Now you can just see it if I sort of wave it around.
Yeah,
How lovely that white ink is. And now I'm going to go on to the black, and I have no idea what's going to happen.
We've had a comment asking what the maximum workable size for this could be.
Ooh, it's the maximum size. Oh, my battery is low. I must do something about that. Help. Oh no.
Don't worry about it. We've got about 10 minutes left. I don't know if how much you've got or.
No, I might have to change the angle in order to meet the wire. Hold on.
Okay.
Just hold all those thoughts for a second. That is quite funny, sort of.
Maybe we'll check and see how Murphy's getting on while you're just plugging in.
Yeah, please, please.
Yeah, so I tried printing on some thicker paper. I've got this brown, like paper packaging, and it didn't pick up the ink quite as well, but I quite like it.
Oh, that's sort of brown parcel paper.
Yeah, so parcel paper.
Nice.
And it came out quite ghostly, which I'm quite liking. And I'm liking how many different things are going on with all the cutouts and the relief prints and the stencils. There's so much that comes out of it.
Yeah.
So many different.
Great, thanks, Murphy.
Thank you. I'm plugged in. Also, they're lovely prints, Murphy. I really like them. I mean, it's clearly you who should be doing the demonstrating. That's all I can say. Right, I'm going to print this on here. It may just be a sticky old, I don't know what, but let's try it.
We've got comments flying in. We've got some really nice ones just saying what a lovely person and a great session. It's really helpful, so thank you. We've got one saying that,
So that's, I'll read that one, Charlotte, if you like.
Thank you.
From, Robin at the Creative Centre, who are an arts organisation in New York. And they've been joining us for a while, so hello, Robin. And just talking about producing cards. So they've said that, I guess, as you said, you can use your direct prints to make cards personally, but they've used a colour printer to reproduce 12 unique prints and then distributed a class pack so each participant gets one.
That is a good idea. That's a really good idea. And of course, there's no rule that says you can't work on top of these as well. So if you get a base that's done with monoprinting, you can then draw on top or paint on top of it or anything, or cut several of them up and make a piece out of the combination of all these things. It's a kind of, I don't know. Once you've stuck into it, you can lose. Well, I can lose half a day very easily. I put my black print on, my white print on here, and it's just terrible. So I think it's quite good that you can see how bad that is. I don't mean terrible. I don't mean there isn't. Having said there isn't such a thing as terrible. What I mean is it hasn't worked how I wanted it to, or how I imagined it would. So I'm just going to re-ink my black, and because I don't like giving up, so I'm just going to lift this little palm tree off. I'm just going to roll up again here. And in order to kind of make something of that rather ghostly grey that I've got, I might lift up, or I might, this is the piece of paper that I cut that shape out of. I'm going to put it on in a sort of different place, like that. Got corners, which is strange, but good. In a way, I have more impetus sometimes with a print that I don't like to carry on working on it than on one that I'm happy with. You know, I just, with a happy one that I'm happy with, I just put it aside and there it is, it's sort of, it lives. But with ones that I don't like, I kind of, I keep working on top of them, because that feels, I don't know, I love trying to find something, I think. That might be why I'm an artist. And I don't mind the fact that I quite often don't find anything. So this is strange. It's sort of turning into a kind of creature almost. You can see that the more I rub, the stronger it's getting. But because of the time and everything, I'm just going to... So that is really odd. And it's like especially odd for me to make something like that. That's very close tonally and that's quite abstract but in a quite an odd way. It's sort of like a living form, but it's got, I don't know, it's quite an odd thing. But I do quite like working like this because of the surprises that you get. I wonder if there are any other things I should be showing you. Maybe I should be going back over some of these early ones. Wow. So this brown one that I was sort of not particularly delighted by. Maybe it's time to print on that.
We've had somebody say it's really good to know about the frames as well.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, I think it just means that you've got a choice. You can go for the kind of everything everywhere look, which is complete. Well, it would look like that. So a bit like a kind of, I don't know, something quite exciting about the edge of something that's rough like that. But you have this choice to put a mask, to put a frame on, and just to kind of keep it, yeah, just to kind of get it square-ish. So I'm going to print over this yellow one. Like literally blood everywhere. Okay, here we go. This time I'm hoping that the yellow ink is just going to kind of make this feel warmer. So it's quite good to identify what you don't like about a piece of work and try and rescue it. So I think that I like that much better. And it's starting to have that thing of having a bit of depth. Again, the imagery is not a kind of image. You saw me wiping out those half circles and putting that paper on. It's not the kind of imagery I work with, but still there's something about the surface and the richness of it, which is starting to be very much a print. And, you know, it's starting to get exciting for me. So I'll put that there. I wonder which other combos I should try. The white, I didn't get white to work properly, did I? That was disappointing. What can I do? I can maybe put the white. It's difficult to do all these things, you know, all together for you. I sort of want everything to work well because I want you all to have fun with it.
I think they've all worked out really nicely, and it's yeah, like you say, it's interesting to see the different tests you can do with the same imagery, and hopefully we can see some experiments that people have been doing at home later too.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to see them. I really would. I mean, already Murphy's are kind of amazing because the quality of her drawing is so gorgeous, and the way that the images are developing is so nice. That's the exciting thing about it. You get these lovely surprises.
Also, Naomi, I did lose track of time with it. We are coming up to the full hour, so maybe this next
okay.
print can have to be the last.
In a way, if everybody was in the room, you know, I would say, which print shall I risk? You know, which one shall I risk losing completely? Because I feel like that's the fun bit.
Well, if anyone does want to have a quick input, now's your chance. You can put it in the Q&A.
let me know if there's one, or there's one that you just want me to drop a surprise on. I'm happy to do it. In fact, there was that one, this one here. This one needs something, but I wonder if this one needs white or yellow.
It'd be nice to see a white on that.
Hopefully there's some white left on here, as it's so invisible. Sorry about all this. It's funny, somebody told me a saying from, I think from an American president, not the most recent one, about how plans are useless, planning is essential. And there was a lot of planning. I did a lot of preparing of things for this session. And then of course it just gets completely taken over by whatever it is you want to do. So, very weird. So the ghost of the shape that I wanted to print originally is there. The fleeing figure is not so much there. I might just pop this down. How do I do that? Oh, I don't know. My brain stopped working. What can I do there? It's almost like somebody said, it's now a race and you've got to just, I've just got to find something and print it on. So now I'm just
really confusing with all the layers.
It does, but that's what I love. I mean, even this, which I don't like at all, I love the fact that it's starting to get confusing. You know, it's starting to get sort of, I don't know, it's getting that texture. Right, this will be odd. Let's go for it. There, I'm glad I did that. So I have no idea what this is or what's going on, but I quite like it now. And the strange female figure sort of running is now got this strange shape, but also her legs to me look like they've got sort of, they're made of bricks or something. It's completely odd, but this is what I mean about the prints can become more than the sum of their parts. You know, they can start to take on a kind of different character, which is great.
It's great how the colours have come together as well to make that sort of grey green.
Yes, yeah, it's yeah, you're right. It's starting to kind of tip over into yeah. There's a kind of an interesting frosty colour coming through. Is there anything else I can completely destroy before we go? I've got other former prints here. Maybe I need to slow down. Maybe just do one more little print. I wonder if there's any more yellow on there. Let's see. Sometimes you get lovely things when you're clearing up, by the way, which is the bit that, you know, will happen after we've all gone our separate ways. You're clearing up and then suddenly you see something and you know, and you start working with the ink like that. And that can be really lovely. So to sum up, before we all either carry on printing or pack up for the day, just choose, when you're rolling out your ink, thin or thick. Choose colours that are kind of going to make friends with each other in the end. Try not to cut yourself at the beginning. And just try and enjoy it. Try and enjoy the all the possibilities of it. And play to your strengths. You know, if you love drawing, then draw. If you love shape and colour, then kind of get into that. You know, these are quite strange prints, but it's the beginning of something for me. And yeah, it's exciting.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Naomi. It's been a brilliant way to spend Thursday afternoon, and a nice one to round off this term as well. It's been, as we've seen from the comments, we've had like really nice engagement, and it'd be really nice, yeah, to see what other people have produced. And thank you for inviting us into your studio.
Pleasure. It's been really nice to have you. I'm just going to put HR for hospital rooms
Oh,
on
nice.
here, and then that's end of term special.
Brilliant.
There we are. Special gold mark.
Perfect.
And
off into the
Murphy, how did you get on?
Yeah, it was really fun, really interesting to see how they all came together. So I've got a few little.
Whoa! I like what's happened to
very...
your arms.
Thank you. The framing's nice.
Some bits and bobs.
Yeah, I mean you're worryingly good. This is the trouble.
It's been really fun. Thank you.
You need to get Murphy to do some sessions for you, definitely.
Well, as you mentioned that, we are actually, as I said, this is the last session in this term. I'll put myself on the screen as I just sort of do the closing things. This is the last session of this term, but we are going to be running a Christmas special on the 10th of December with Susie Hamilton, and that's going to be Starry Night Sky painting. So it'd be great to have Susie Hamilton back. And then on Christmas Eve, we're also going to be running a session, which is going to be a workshop that actually Murphy and Charlotte are going to decide on the activity. So we will have Murphy's expertise for that one. As I said at the beginning, the 10-minute tutorial video is on YouTube if you want to watch that back, and this recording will also be on YouTube too. The Dropbox link will email to you after the session, so please do share us your pictures and we'll get them uploaded. We are going to be doing another art swap, so we'll put out information about that. It's something we did at the end of the first term, where we'd like people to send in their artworks to us, and then we'll send you back another artwork by someone else who's participated. So it'd be really great if you could be involved with that. So email to follow about that. And that's all from me for now. Thanks so much for everyone for joining, and thanks to Naomi. And we're just having a few more comments coming in saying thanks again. And and someone's saying please ask Naomi back. So that's lovely.
Oh, thanks. Shall I show them the sea before we go?
Let's see what you've been looking at while you've been printing.
Okay, I'm just gonna. Okay, for those of you who are still here we go. I'm going to just show you. So this is my studio. Whoops, it's a mess, of course. And then through the window, to let it settle. Can you see?
Oh, it's a bit overexposed. You can sort of see that wave coming in at the bottom. Yeah.
I hope so. Oh, you're right. It's a bit invisible, isn't it? But out there is the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, I sort of wanted you to see it, to share it with you.
We can see the wave just flowing in, so we get a moment. We can imagine it. Oh yeah, let's take. Oh, there it is. Beautiful.
There it is. So while I've had my laptop in front of me. That's what I've been able to see, which is distracting but great.
I'm sure very inspirational as well. We'll leave that view. Thanks so much, Naomi, and see you all.
Okay, thank you, everybody.